Hello, and welcome to the Men of Yoga podcast, where we talk about everything, especially the topics that most people are afraid to talk about because it all gets to be here. In today's episode, which is our last of season one, we're going to talk about the radical fairies. Who are they? What do they do? And we're also going to talk about the trouble that we're going to get into, me and Gayru, in LA and San Francisco very soon. We're also going to talk about crying and sitting with negative emotions. So grab yourself a drink or maybe some tissues just in case and join us for our last episode.
Hello,
Hi,
Gayru.
how you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little bit generally overstimulated these days, and I'm eating some sourdough toast right now, and I just got done teaching a class, and everything is
Well,
fine.
where is your sourdough bread coming from? Is it homemade or is that from store-bought?
I'm making it, dude.
There we go. See, I asked the good
Hmm.
questions because I know you live out in the desert. You live somewhere in the jungle, and then it's like I don't know how much access you have to this, for to a store. You
Well,
know.
we have stores, but in Costa Rica or throughout Latin America, the bread bakeries, there's a big thing that's called panaderias, but the pan that they make is terrible. It is it's like it's not sourdough. It's like I call it air bread. It's
Yeah.
just like no substance to it. It's like air. It like crumbles. It's kind of like a saltine cracker. So I took up the homesteading farm wife essential skill of making sourdough.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
it's very
I hear the crisp.
mhm.
Nice.
I've mastered it. It's got a great, well, almost mastered it. It's a fun weekend ritual.
Mm. Yeah, we're big on the sourdough over here.
Hmm.
Yeah, even when we're stoned, we put like
Hmm.
sourdough toast and we put like
Hmm.
peanut butter and
Hmm.
we drizzle it with maple syrup.
That is a really fantastic munchies
Yeah,
option.
it's fantastic, especially if you love peanut butter, right? Yeah,
I do.
yeah. So I just wanted to let you know earlier I was going to come away, I was going to be topless with you, and my nipples were so like erect because it's so cold. I'm like, I just didn't want people to like look at my turned on nipples for
Oh
like
my
an
God.
hour.
I mean,
You know?
I see them. I see them.
You still see them right through, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I
You
don't
know,
have big nipples, but it's like, it's weird because you have like small nipples and all you could see is like I have small areolas
mhm,
and all you could see is like these.
protruding though.
Yeah. But that's okay. I'm now promoting again the Men of Yoga merch,
Yeah.
also
Fortunately,
available as muscle tee. Yeah.
fortunately, that logo is beautiful and eye-catching enough to actually
Yeah.
pull our attention there.
Well, thank you. What happened to
Hmm.
your strappy strap? You don't usually have a strappy strap.
Mm, I use it to teach,
Oh, I
and
see.
I
Then
use
it's
it
it's the microphone. That's right.
right. I use it to hold up the Rode mic, but if I am
Yeah.
using the AirPods, then I don't actually need it. And after teaching, okay, I'm just gonna tell you like it is. That strap sometimes gets so saturated with sweat over, you know, the weeks and weeks of nonstop use, and sometimes I just can't stand it anymore.
Sure.
It needs to be washed.
Yeah, no worries. I always every time I see it though, I swear I'm like, this dude is so in his S&M era. Because it's very popular, these straps that the
Uh-huh.
men wear. The leather gear, I don't even know
Yeah,
what you call it,
totally.
but it's pretty popular. And I think you do own something like that, though, don't you?
Oh, I do.
Okay, okay. See, there you go.
Yeah, I have
Well,
a it's in my room and it's getting like it's getting jungle-fied right now.
oh, I love that. I love that.
Which means mold is growing on it and the metal is getting rusty
Oh shit.
just from the humidity of
Yeah.
the environment. I live in a
God,
very different environment than
nothing
you.
nothing is safe over there. Jesus Christ. Everything's like pushing you to your limits and your edges, isn't it?
Yeah, people think, I mean, I've talked about it before and
Yeah.
people think, and I used to think too, that just like Costa Rica, like everything is easy and beautiful and comfortable there, and that is a misconception. It's hard, and
Yeah.
the jungle reclaims all of your stuff eventually. Nothing lasts forever, but when you move to Costa Rica, you're forced to let go of a lot of things because the jungle just claims it. Your
Yeah.
books, anything made of paper just like disintegrates, just like turns to mold and then just becomes illegible and warped, and then it's gone. Electronics die much more quickly, clothes get moldy, anything made of leather. So like there's been a lot of letting
Wow.
go.
Wow. Nature wants its shit back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we let you borrow the materials, now give it back to mama.
Everything is just accelerated here. It's like
What a trip.
nature happens a lot faster. There's a lot more decomposers. I mean, like if a creature dies on your floor in here, which our house is open air, so that's happening all the time, like a lizard or a frog um, breathes its last breath. And if you just leave it there, within a couple hours, it will be gone because ants immediately come and just break it down, and that you watch it carrying it away in little pieces, and then by the end of the day, it'll just be like a little pile of ash, just like a little pile of dust where it was.
Oh, damn. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that needs to be your next endeavors. Like, what is it? Like, just having like an episode or a segment based on like all the creepy natural things that take place while you're away from home.
Time lapse footage of the breakdown.
What is it? We'll call it "Fuck Around and Find Out" at the with Tropical Farm Boys.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. So this is our last episode for the season. I don't even know if people know that there's such a thing as a season. This became like a podcast, and before you know it, we have guests, and before you know it, like we're gonna take a break, and like, you know, yeah. So we decided to be guest free today, so you and I can close the show as we opened it. You know, yeah. But
Makes sense.
yeah, of course. It's a nice little closure. But I want to do special shout out to the guys and fellas who joined us, our significant others, first and foremost, Pepe and Aaron. And then there's Nick, and we have Jacob, and we had Andy. I didn't miss anybody. Oh God, did I miss
Nope.
anybody? No.
That was it.
Okay.
I think that was it.
Okay. So what's new and exciting happening? I know that you're coming around the corner. I'm like marking on my calendar. Thank you for sending your itinerary.
Yeah, that's why my nervous system is in overdrive. I'm doing it. Yeah, this trip is huge for me. It's an international business trip, but also a lot of play and fun built into it. And add on top of that every person, I'll be meeting a lot of people, and none of them have I ever interacted with in real life before. So like everything is new. I've never been to any of these places. I've never been to a radical fairy gathering. I've never led a retreat. So it's big. It's all new. That's taking up most of my focus, but at the same time, I'm also like leaving the farm is a big deal. So there's a lot of things to tie up, loose ends to tie up, and things to get in order with my business, and then also with the farm. So today and yesterday we rehomed our last remaining two farm animals. Stinky the goat went to live somewhere else, and he almost died, by the way. Like the past few weeks have been so rough. Like he was near death, and we revived him enough to take him to a different farm. We really thought he was gonna pass though. And
What
then
happened?
Alon,
What happened?
well,
It was just
so we had a few goats, and two of them got sick at the same time. They got some kind of like bacterial, I think it's a bacterial thing. It's common when rainy season comes and everything is just so soggy and wet, and so they got this bacterial thing, and the female, she was pregnant and she died. It was too much for her.
oh
She was
no.
Yeah, she was near the point of giving birth, and then she just died very suddenly. And then this guy Stinky was strong enough to hang in there, and we got him through it.
Yeah.
We also got news that Alanis, our horse, had some type of cancer, and we got that news on the same day that our Costa Rican residency was rejected. So that was why, like all these things just led us towards, okay, we need a life reset, and we have to get rid of all the farm animals before going on this big trip. So Alana's, though, we found the best situation possible for her. Alana's horset is going to go live with a friend of ours who lives in our neighborhood, and he actually is going to like train her, and his kids are going to ride her, and it's walking distance, so we can go visit her. So that is really great. She's leaving the farm today.
Yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
oh, she's got one hoof in her pocket and the other one is waving goodbye.
Yeah. Is waving a peace
Oh,
sign.
right, waving a peace sign. There we go. Oh,
So that's fine. And
yeah.
then in the business category, though, I suddenly had this idea this week where I was like, oh my God, I want to create this amazing thing. So I've talked about human design on this podcast before,
Mhm.
and I have been getting more creative at that. And so this weekend, I went into hyperdrive, like focus mode, because I wanted to get this done before leaving for the trip. And I put together this amazing manual. It's called the Rainbow Deconditioning Guide. And
Mhm.
it's specific, it's a little manual that when you print it out, it's personalized to you. It pulls together only the pages that are relevant to you and your design. But it's all about understanding the kind of conditioning that most GBTQ guys get growing up, and then also after coming out, because like you grow up and you're kind of like you're forced to be someone that you're not, most of us, and then you come out and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to find my authentic self and be my authentic self, and then you get a bunch of conditioning from the world about what it means to be gay or what it means to be bi, or what you're supposed to act a certain way and fit a certain role. So then you just get a bunch more conditioning, and so it's really hard for queer people to find their authentic self. So I think human design is especially helpful for queer men. I mean, it has been for me. So I really wish someone had made something like this for me. So I made it, and it's
Nice.
available now.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and it's
yeah.
free. So if you go to my website and get your chart, you'll now see an option to download the um, Rainbow Deconditioning Guide.
Beautiful. Name that website again for us.
Upgradeyourvessel.com.
Thank you.
Upgradeyourvessel.com.
Vessel.com. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations. I love that.
Thank you. So
Look
yeah,
at
that's
you, always on the move. Always on the
very
move,
much.
always on the go. One of the conversations Aaron and I like continually have is like choosing this path of entrepreneurship and like being self-employed and being a yogi and being a teacher and like all these things. It's like you really got to dig deep in terms of finding different ways to put the message out there, except at the end of the day it's all the same. Like, you are the container, you are the
Mm-hmm.
vessel, and here you are saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, these things never existed before, and my hope is that I can be that, instead of just wishing it happened, kind of bring it to life so that you can be one of the first to say, here's my first offering, or here's my first spin on it. I hope it inspires people to read and to get something out of it as well. And if they have motivation and inspiration to do something more and put more messaging out there, you kind of start to grow that conversation and bring more visibility. you know
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's fantastic. That's the thing that like drives Aaron and I to get out of bed every morning, is like, oh, what about we do this? It's almost like a yoga Taco Bell, where it's all the same ingredients, but at the end of the day, it's like you kind of put the pieces together and you create something new all over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah. And just being as a gay man, it's like it's we take the challenges that we've had and we turn that into brilliance, which
Yeah.
is something that I want to like chat with you about today, as far as like what has been your ahas since the last 9 episodes, and having a podcast that something that you are walking away with after today, saying this is really something that I've learned, something that I feel I've created, something that I think I'm going to like move forward with.
Mm. Well, um, you know, interacting with people that you don't know through my hair is like, I'm noticing how like, okay, that looks better. Uh, like interacting with people in this way and being like a podcast host it is different, especially when you have guests. It's different than being in a regular conversation. And so I have learned through these episodes like what kind of host I want to be. And I started like thinking about different talk show hosts and podcast hosts that I really like, and even like YouTubers who troll people on the streets and stuff and ask people questions. I've put together how I want to show up in this podcast moving forward. I want to be a little bit more annoying. I want to be a little bit more like pushing of the boundaries, and also just like, I want to get into the juicy topics with people, and I want to ask them interesting questions, which can be uncomfortable. But I want to be really unapologetic about asking them, and I want to like, I think a gift that I actually have, because it comes out in real life, but I want to try to translate it into the podcast, is like, I have a gift for making people do things that they're like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now, or I can't believe I'm saying this right now. Like, I'm being so stupid and it's embarrassing, but you're making me do it. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
want to help people to get real with us and actually answer those interesting questions and say things that they
Yeah.
would normally didn't think they were going to say on a podcast. I want to break down, I want to use my silliness and my playfulness to help break down those barriers.
Yeah. Well, my hope is that when we launch episode 2, that it'll give time for the other episodes to marinate, and for viewers and future guests to get a little bit more familiar, to know exactly what they're signing up for. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
with the name, like, spiritual Gayru is there for a reason, but it's like, I find that blend of like being gay enough and yet being holistic enough to say, like, I do love my yoga, but I also love my yoga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they're equal parts there, but I've been gayer longer than I've been like a yogi, or discovered words to describe how I live my life. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because I don't have a homosexual lifestyle, and I don't have a
Oh,
yogic
no, no,
lifestyle.
no, no.
It's like, it's like this lifestyle deal. It's like lifestyle tends to come and go. It's a fad, it's a trend, whatever the case may be. But like, I like to think like every time we step onto our mats, there's this idea of like, oh, I learned something today, and it might not have anything to do with yoga at all. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you may be
At
tapping
least
into
not in a literal
yeah,
sense.
yeah. One of the things I have learned through this process is that I get a little starstruck with these guys who we bring on, because my connection with a lot of these men have been online and have been at Instagram. More of them are outside of US, which trips me out. Like, I have more connections with people outside of the US, even just with California alone, that I've connected with last couple of years. And I feel, even with you today, it's like I've never met you in person. And so every time I see you, it's like this video vixen, that I'm now like in contact with and actually have great chemistry with. And I tell Aaron, like, I can't believe I'm gonna meet Pepe and Coco in person, because you've been like this, you know, this video star for a while, and I've seen your work, and to actually make that connection and go on a journey with you and travel with you, I think it's going to be super, super cool. And it inspires me to like make that connection with everybody, but not with me directly, but I wish that kind of connection with everybody. Like, meet these yogis, meet your brothers, meet your peers, man. It's something really magical that what we do together, and it's almost like super friends. you
Totally.
know yeah, imagine the power that you have and the power this person has, and when you combine these forces, it becomes like a stronger voice, you know a louder megaphone. you know
Yeah, bigger, louder megaphone. I That's something that I'm always trying to drive home to the guys in my virtual community, is that, like, don't take this at face value. We're kind of limited on what we can share with each other through just like pictures and videos and social media, but we're all real people. And if you
right?
stay and you stick around and we stay in community, like, we can meet each other one day, like we can become friends. It makes the world feel smaller. And if you really think about it, you stay in this community, then you know other yoga, other similar like-minded men all over the world. So almost anywhere that you might want to go, you've got a friend there.
Totally. Is there anybody in particular that you are looking forward to meet or have a project with besides the obvious? Anybody else I need to like be worried about? Is there a competition?
No, there is
Well, oh
not.
no, but before we get there, like I want to talk about the ferry thing because you're going to be. Is it in Oregon that you're going to the ferry thing? Okay, there we go.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I can tell you what I know about it, but it's one of those things that like you can't know until you do it yourself. Like that's what the fairies all say. Like there's no way that we can prepare you for this experience. Um, and so the Radical Fairies is a loose organization, a very anarchic, very alternative, very magical crew of queer men. I don't know where it started. I want to say like Tennessee because I know their biggest sanctuary is in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
But they have little gatherings and nature sanctuaries. And I'm going to the summer solstice gathering at Wolf Creek, Southern Oregon, because when I told like this trip originally started out as my friend Keith, who I'll talk about in a minute, invited me to his home in the Redwoods to co-host a retreat, a men's retreat. And then when I was talking about this to my friend Sunray, who's a fairy, he was like, "Oh my God, it would be amazing if you could come to the fairy gathering that's happening right before that in Southern Oregon." And I was like, that felt like like a correct invitation. I was like, I'm gonna do that because I have always wanted to. Like, ever since I first came out, there was a girl in my yoga teacher training. This was back in 2016, and she knew that I didn't have queer community and was just like a brand new born baby in the gay world. And she was like, "Roscoe, do you know about the Radical Fairies?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, it's just like this group of like really kooky, unhinged gay men that get together and like do a bunch of drugs or something, but I think you would love it." And she didn't really know what she was talking about because that's not like exactly a fair representation of the fairies, but she wasn't completely wrong.
Yeah.
And she was one of many people throughout my life to bring up the fairies just keep coming to me, and fairies recognize the fairy in me, and they always often will ask me like, "Are you a fae?" Or like, "Have you been to
A
the
fae. That's what it is. A fae.
uh-huh
Okay. Okay.
or have you been to a fairy? Are you a radical fairy?" And I'm always like, "Yes, but I haven't gathered with my people yet." So I'm really excited for this chance to do that.
Yeah.
um we haven't interviewed Sunray yet, but we should have him on the show sometime.
Oh, I love Sunray. I've been connected
Yeah.
with Sunray for a long, long, long time. We've talked about like numerous times. Come drive over here. Let's go do something because he's in Oregon. He's about maybe I want to say 13-hour drive. I somewhere along those lines. And the the last time we had talked about that, shit just went wrong last year. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like surgeries and so on and so forth. And
Oh,
so
right, you had a
yeah,
rough year.
yeah, it was a rough year. So like this year is all about like getting back in the game. But I trust that, he and I will commence and do something awesome at some point. But shout out to Sunray, you beautiful creature, fairy, you.
Yeah,
You know,
thank you, Sunray, for inviting me to the fairy gathering.
yeah, there's a chapter of the fairies here in San Francisco. That's why I've
Mhm.
I've heard of the term, and I know a couple of people who are really into it to a point where it's like, wait a minute, is this like a little fairy cult? Like it's a thing. It
Yeah, it
is a
is.
thing. Yeah.
And yeah, they're like these little gay Burning Mans, little queer Burning
Yes.
Mans. And
Yes. There we go.
um
Yeah.
like the whole thing is like, but it's not a music festival, and it's also not like a thing that's like regimented and so pre-planned and programmed. It's
Right.
anarchic. So you get there and people sign up on the board, like the bulletin board of like just volunteering to make everything happen, like food and signing up to teach workshops and classes, and there's talent shows, and there's a like a Miss Universe pageant. There's just all these magical experiences.
Yeah. That
And
sounds so fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say something else about it too, but it left me. Um, but it's totally a thing, and I feel like I'm gonna love it. Oh, I remember my friend Jorge, who is helping me with the Radical Fairy. I mean, who my friend Jorge, who is helping me with the Rainbow Camp in
Hmm.
Guerneville.
Hmm.
He's a fairy, and he also told me, like at one point, me and Pepe were discouraged while he was visiting us here in Costa Rica, and we were talking to Jorge, like, I just don't know where we're gonna find like our kind of people who can really help us on the farm or really get and understand what we're doing here. And Jorge was like, well, you know where you're going to find them. You need to go to some radical fairy gatherings. Those are your people.
Yeah.
And that was the last like seed that was planted before Sunray invited me. And so I
Yeah.
was like, I took, and I really trust Jorge. And I think Jorge is a person that definitely really sees and understands us. So I was like, you're right, Jorge. I need to plug in.
Yeah.
Then Sunray invited me, and I was like, yes. So,
Yeah. That was a yes.
hmm
Very
so
cool.
so that's happening. And then Keith, who is started out as a student and client of mine back when I met you, back in that era, COVID era. He went through one of my coaching programs, and we became, long-term buddies, rainbows. And so he's the one who owns the house in the Redwoods where we're going to do the first ever Rainbow Forest Camp. So I'm going to
Mhm.
bring all that fairy magic down from Southern Oregon to Guerneville, and we'll do that. It's going to be a week of brotherhood, hiking in the Redwoods, yoga every day, and all kinds of other magical experiences. Hopefully, the first of many rainbow camps that I want to do like around the world. I'm hoping this is like a thing that I continue to offer.
Yeah.
And then I'm coming to connect with you. And
Beautiful.
to answer your question, there is no competition.
There
I'm
is no
hanging out.
other gay. There's only one Gayru, damn it.
Yeah, you're my host, and I'm really ready and excited to fuck shit up with you.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. It's funny because the last time I actually drove to LA, so um, just a little bit of backdrop in terms of like me as a driver. 90% Aaron is my driver. I don't like to drive. And when I say I don't
Mm.
like to drive, I'd rather not drive. Like it's not
Same
like
girl.
yeah, it's not like I get stressed or anything, but I do better in the backs. I was gonna say I perform better. I perform better in the back seat.
I'm sure you do.
I'm like, on my phone, just like, oh, I gotta go text this. Like, I'm like that diva that just wants to be driven around. Now,
Yeah, same.
with that
God help
said,
us.
yeah, God help us. But with that said, when I'm on a mission, I don't need nobody. I'm that kind of person. It's like, nope, I'm gonna drive myself. Once upon a time, I did drive myself on two occasions to LA. Well, actually, no, several times I drove myself to LA. The most recent one is actually I had this crazy idea that I was gonna come up with the reality show. And the reality show was called Yoga Belly. And it's a story about two gay guys who happened to open up a yoga studio in the middle of Silicon Valley, where they just, they opened up a studio that was light on tradition, heavy on workout, and it brought in all these different characters who were non-yogis in the yoga space. So it was, and I already had like a pitch deck. I had like storylines, had arcs. I had like 7, 8 episodes in. So it was a reality show, but it's also kind of scripted because I definitely want to recreate storylines that actually happened, but also be in real time where the show would always start with a character like myself or Aaron or one of the yoga teachers coming up with we start off at the class, and then the show will take place outside of the studio, and then it'll always end at the studio with some kind of closing mantra.
Mhm.
So it was kind of like a produced, whatever it was. And I'd realize like it's nice that I have this thing written down somewhere. I went to LA to actually pitch it to whoever would listen. It was just one of those things. I told Aaron, I'm going to disappear for 7 days and I'm going to go to LA. I knew a handful of people, but I went to parties and I was networking and, I was getting cards and here's producers, but I don't live in LA. And at the end of that trip, a couple of producers said you're better off probably writing a script and pitching this for an actual show because a reality show, not a documentary, a reality show would be far more riskier because you don't have a control over like how things will turn out,
Mhm.
So it's like, so I went back and started, working on this stuff, and I had to put it on pause because it turned out to be like bigger than I could actually handle, you know.
I'm
But
sure everything is always bigger than we think it's gonna be.
I absolutely, like I've never been in production. I've never been in TV. I've never done all these things. I've always had the attitude like I could do this, but sometimes you'd realize like this is a lot more than I've anticipated. But it hasn't disappeared. It's still in the back burner, you know. So, and here we are on screen doing this podcast. So at some level, there's some reality show aspects that's taking place since that, since I conceived that little silly idea, you know.
Totally. Well, farming in Costa Rica was definitely my version of that, like it was way, and that's why we're like, hitting the reset button on that because it was way more than
Yeah.
than either of us expected. So I can relate to you in that way, but it's good to bite off more than you can chew sometimes and to
Oh, totally.
really explore an idea because you don't know until you try. And
Yeah.
what you described to me, I think sounds fucking awesome. So it could still happen
I
in some form.
yeah, at some form. I think the Men of Yoga has really brought back that inspiration. It is possible to, use yoga as a platform to get people connected. And also it at some level, I personally love the idea of bringing some wellness factor into everybody's lives because I know not everybody's lives are healthy and we don't make space time for that. So
Mhm.
some guy who likes to party, some guy who likes being a diva, all of these things, I realize that the yoga itself kind of reels me back in, but it also gives me permission to be a party like a rock star because I know that I have yoga to come home to, you know. So yeah,
Totally.
yeah. Um, so what was I going to share with you? Oh, Men of Yoga. So I'm going to do a quick plug real quick. So I am last time I think we spoke about this a couple of episodes ago, but like I am almost done with my yoga teacher training program online. I've got somebody testing out like the modules and all that stuff, and they're really, really into it. And so I'm putting that out in the universe. Please look out for that, folks. For those of you who haven't gotten certified to become a yoga teacher, now might be the time. I'll do extra plugs on that. But with that being said, I really want to put out in the universe also that I want to duplicate this platform, but make it male specific. So it'll be a Men of Yoga teacher training. And Coco, you're at the top of my list to be one of those contributing teachers. And whoever else wants to participate in that experience, please DM me and let me know if you too want to participate as a yoga teacher on the platform or somebody who wants to take us up on taking teacher training. So
That
yeah,
is so exciting.
yeah, it is
And
exciting. And so that's my reality show right there.
it's a yes for me. You already know that. And so I'm really the you guys, the teacher training, the Men of Yoga teacher training that Gayru and I collaborate on is gonna be unique to say the least. And you already know that both of us
Yeah,
are very serious and very not serious at the same time. So we're gonna make
yeah.
sure that it's extremely educational, really prepares you to be a teacher, but also that it is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the ideas of us like if you want to Yoga Alliance requires that we have like 30 hours of live sessions with the students. And so, of course, that could take place at the fairy retreat. That could take place
Hmm.
at Rainbow retreat. You know what I mean? So I'm just like looking at the possibilities in 2025, and so that brings me so much joy and excitement that that's on the, it's going to be on the table soon.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Same.
Um, Are we gonna go clubbing when we meet? Do you club?
Do I club? No. But am I
I was gonna say like,
interested? And
yeah, I was gonna say like, is there clubbing in Costa Rica?
no, there is not. But I would love to take the opportunity when I'm in the world of clubs where that is a possibility to do that. Because also you and me are going to be together on my birthday in West Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So like I'm not trying to like put a bunch of pressure on anybody to make that the best night of my life or anything, but I do want to go out and, try
Yeah.
it. And
I think maybe like once we find out like what spots we're gonna hit up, like let the boys know, like, hey, we're gonna be here and we're gonna be here. You know what I mean? Like whoever wants to join and meet up, I think that would be amazing.
dude, me too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Are you in contact with the Naked Warrior fellas? Are
Yeah,
you
a little bit. Yeah.
like, I don't know how many of them are local.
Well, me either, really. Naked
Yeah.
Warrior is such an interesting, loose organization of people
Hmm.
that, like I'm looking forward to actually going and being in the space and meeting some of them in real life, but I'm not closely in contact with anyone. So I just reminded them yesterday. I was like, "You guys remember I'm coming into the studio on these days to teach these classes." So yeah, we'll see what happens. Everything is still
Sure.
coming
Sure.
together, but
All right.
I mean, bottom line is, no matter what, I'm gonna be there on my
Yeah.
birthday and down to party. So yes,
Perfect. Could we also make a quick announcement what dates tentative you are teaching in LA so people also know to come see you there?
yeah,
Naked
I will be
Warrior?
teaching yoga and sexual kung fu at 8 a.m. California time in LA in the Naked Warrior Yoga Studio. And then so that's on the 9th. And then and my birthday. So come see me, come take the class. And then on the 11th, which is a Thursday, same time, same place, I'll be teaching Rainbow Yoga, which is my weekly class also, but it's a yoga class. I mean, it looks and feels like not too different from other yoga classes, but what is interesting and special about it is I always let the cosmic weather guide me in exactly what I teach, down to what music I choose, the postures, the message that comes through. It's all meant to prepare you for like what is cosmically happening that day, the cosmic weather. I help you get dressed for the cosmic weather. And both of them will just be like an extended version of the usual class. So I'll probably go like an hour and 15 minutes or maybe even an hour and a half instead of just an hour. I'll also be broadcasting them live. So you can do it in the studio or virtually.
Oh, fantastic. So they have a
Mhm.
setup for a hybrid.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know that if you'll be like teaching like on your mat or you'll be able to like walk around or, is there a requirement that you stay up front so that the camera's on you 100%? You know what I mean?
I
You
think
know?
yes. Yeah, I pretty much am gonna need to stay in one spot, but
Mm,
there usually are other guys, or at least another guy in the studio who's kind of like a co-facilitator walking around checking on people, giving people adjustments.
mm.
Um, that's
Nice.
my experience. I've only seen it from my side, so this now I get to be on the other side.
Yeah. Is this going to be your first time doing a live class with people?
No, I taught
Well,
yoga for years, but you mean of this nature, like a
like,
naked
like,
men's
like,
class?
yeah, naked men's class, right?
Um, no, but I only recently did that in real life for the first time when I went to the Conscious Kink retreat at the Gayborhood. I was the yoga
Hmm.
teacher on that retreat, and
Yeah.
that was my first time doing that, and it went
Okay.
really well.
Yeah. Nice.
It was definitely different. It was definitely like um more nerve-wracking to not be in the comfort of my own living room. Um, but it was cool and something I'm definitely looking forward to getting used to more.
Yeah.
Um, which really this whole trip involves a lot of that. Like I wanted to interject when you were talking about driving, but I'm the same way. Like I rely on Pepe, my husband, so much to get the necessary and practical things to take care of that stuff. Like he makes sure that we get to the places we're supposed to be. He does a lot of the like behind the scenes admin of our life.
Yeah.
And That's okay. You know, like it's wonderful to have a partner that does all that stuff for you, but sometimes I feel like, God, I really need to like sharpen up and exercise my skills a little bit more and like at
Yeah.
least like show myself that I can still do these things. So I will not be driving. I'm gonna let
Hmm.
you do that part. That's your
Yeah.
work. That's
Yeah.
your like
Yeah.
inner work that you're gonna be doing is learning how to drive again
Yeah.
without Aaron. But I'm gonna be exercising a lot of in a lot of similar ways, like doing this stuff without Pepe.
Yeah. Girl, I cannot imagine a scenario where Madonna or Avril need to drive themselves to a venue. Okay. I'm just
Oh
saying.
man.
I'm
Well,
just saying.
this time Avril's gonna be in the car with Madonna, and Madonna has to get us there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she's the older one.
True, she should be
She's the
better at
older,
driving.
and this is her neighborhood. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. When I go to the jungle, I expect you to like carry me in your carriage.
Oh, get ready for a bumpy ride. I just got my car back after it was in the shop for a year. I'm not kidding, over a year.
What was that about? I saw you post it. And I'm like, first of all,
Oh my
why?
God.
Second of all, like, how what, was it necessary to have the car? Like, go.
Okay,
Go?
so you know, everything in Costa Rica is slow, like sloth country. And when you go on vacation to Costa Rica, it's charming because you know we're so used to like such a aggressive, stressed out, fast-paced society in the US. And you get to Costa Rica on vacation and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Nobody gives a shit about anything. It's just like chill. But then when you move here and you try to live here and you're trying to like work with people and get things done, you're not on vacation anymore. It is a whole different ball game. Like having to develop the patience to deal with how slow things are. So I got myself a car. It's a 97 Geo Tracker. So it's like a little golf cart looking thing. And supposedly a great car to have around here because they're popular. Supposedly the parts are readily available. So and it was like all I could afford. So I got this old car and almost immediately it needed work. It was like big stuff, like transmission stuff. Um, Took it to a shop, and apparently, like the rumors about parts being readily available is just not true, or it's not true anymore. It's like a culturally embedded myth that is not true anymore. They finally are old enough that the parts are getting hard to find.
Ooh.
And the mechanics are super, super slow, and they are terrible communicators. Like culturally, you know, people just don't like, they're not on top of it. They don't communicate proactively, they don't communicate clearly. And so we've just kind of been in this like year-long game of just like confusion and waiting, and also like harassing the mechanics to keep them on the ball. Like, you have got to find these parts, fix my car, please, please get the car back. Eventually, it came back and it's drivable. And I'm also looking for a new car now because I would really, really like to like sell that. But yeah, I just like not having a car for 4 years was crazy. I had no ability to like just do things on my own really, unless I could do it on my bicycle, which is really asking a lot around here since the roads are like mountains and gravel roads and it monsoons all the time.
Yeah.
It's not really like a chill bike ride experience, nor is it a chill driving experience, but at least you can go further.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I have my car back now and it's been nice. I'm at least able to help out running errands and
Hmm.
um, have the possibility of driving out to go work at the cafe if I'd like to change the scenery,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Nice. Well, congratulations. Yay. Just in time for you to go away.
Yeah, it's fine. It'll be here for me when I get back.
Yeah, right. Amazing. Amazing. So I know that we wanted to talk about this a little bit. So how do we feel about like the last topics that we've had on this show? I know that a couple of our guests brought up religion, and I know that you and I were like, oh, we want to like tap into that. Is it something that you want to like share? Do you have any ahas from those episodes? Anything that breakthroughs, break opens?
Yes, for sure. One of our guests that talked about Christianity a lot, um, I got really I got really uncomfortable because mostly because I didn't know, like how am I going to respond to this? A lot of the stuff that was coming up in me, having like a really traumatic religious background, was really charged, and I decided to hold most of it in because I was just kind of taking the option of like, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, and just step down and let this person share. And that was the episode actually that was really pivotal for me, that got me to really think. It was like, okay, like sometimes we're gonna have guests that may not be totally on brand, or like, and how am I going to respond to that? And that's when I decided I'm gonna be a bit more of like a button pusher, and like steer the conversation back to what I think is relevant to our audience and what they want to hear, and not be afraid to really push the boundaries, or not be afraid to let some disagreement, or I'm not gonna be like fighting with people, but I'm not gonna afraid to let the conversation get a little intense sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the religion of like, part of me was like, I was like nervous about like, because I wasn't prepared for it. I was nervous about like, how am I gonna respond to this? A, and then also B, there was a part of me that was like, I don't want people to think that I'm aligned with this. Like, this person's sharing their truth. And I was like talking myself down the whole time, being like, nobody's gonna think that's your truth. Nobody's gonna think that you're not saying this. So just let it happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely like a really pivotal episode for me. It was pretty intense.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even plan on bringing that up today, but I'd realize since we've opened up our the show for just you and I today, I figured I'm not going to wait until our next season. Like, I just want to go in there while it's still fresh, you know,
Hmm.
to visit that. So I too have lots and lots of not so fond memories, like growing up, Catholic, like I went to Catholic school most of my elementary life, and my punishments as a kid were torture based. So, like, times I remember getting into trouble, and I don't even know what the trouble was, but our punishment was to get on the floor on our knees, kneel down, and then make the sign of the cross. And uh, we would be made to do this for like, I don't know, like what time it is, but now, not that I'm doing this, I'm having a moment because this is Warrior 2.
Oh, you're like, wait a minute, this feels like very present.
Yeah,
I do this actually all the time. What is
I
it?
do
Oh.
this, but no wonder I'm so good at it. No wonder I'm so good at these yoga poses. My God, they were a form of punishment. It was just stuff like that. And when we were doing this, I don't remember like how long, but that was like the form of punishment. And if the punishment needed extra, they would put like books on top and then have us hold it. You know, it was just that. And I remember going with my mom to these special Easter service where they would have like a celebration, or Easter weekend or whatever. Like, I remember people getting on their knees because that's their form of sacrifice. And they would start at outside of the church at the bottom of the stairs and crawl their way up on their knees all the way till the altar. So there would be like this procession of people, this sea of people, just like, and I just remember being creeped out about that. And I'm like,
For sure.
why are you torturing yourselves? Like, I never quite got that. And that was their sign of
Like repentance
sacrificing.
and
Yeah, like, it's self-affliction kind of thing to prove their sacrifices for the Lord.
mhm.
And I don't know, it was just very confusing to me, like, how is this loving and how is this kind? And and then when you end up being gay, it's like, it gets even worse. You know what I mean? Like, damn, I thought like, this whole thing was like all loving and blah, blah, blah. And it was just really weird messaging for a kid, you
For
know,
sure. Yeah.
you
And like
know,
I've heard so many different versions of explanations of that kind of stuff. And I know that there are queer Christians, but at a certain point, as when you get deep enough into anything, it just becomes problematic. And so
right.
I, made the choice. I saw that and was just like, okay, well, I'm done with it. And I'm not gonna attach myself to any new dogma or any new
Right.
religion. I'm not going to get myself into another box, and I'm going to make it part of my platform. Like and not every teacher is like this, and there's value in different teachers and different ways of handling it. But what I want to help people do is what teachers like Alan Watts helped me to do, and what like magic mushrooms do, which is expand out of all the boxes and let go of dogma and let go of restriction and let go of beliefs and just open up. So
Yeah.
I don't encourage people to stay in any boxes.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least like try
But
all the boxes, right? And realize that it's not just never just one. It's, you know what I mean? It's never just what you think it
mhm,
is, because it could change. It could change based on what you ate last night. It could change on how
mhm,
you slept. It could change on like sleeping with the enemy after all these years, realizing like, oh, this isn't love.
mhm.
You know what I mean? It always changes. My 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 spin on this, I'm pretty I'm pretty consistent with this messaging, is like, um if God, however he, she, they show up, is all knowing and in charge, then you have to kind of look at the fucked up shit that's happening too. It goes, oh yeah, it's not that you deserved it, but that's part of it, you know. It's not just I pray and I get something good, or I behave, so therefore I deserve a better life. I'm like, no, I don't think it works like that, you know. And like you were saying, sometimes you have to take substance to realize what that means to be totally open, to feel the same breeze that the leaves feel, you know, because we take that shit for granted, right? We take breathing for granted until you can't breathe anymore and you have to rely on a machine or a doctor to help you feel better, you know. And that too is a presence of God, you know. Somebody who's like been cut open last year, I look at those nurses, I look at those doctors, like I was being taken care of by complete strangers, and there was a team and there was a group that kept me alive. And to me, it was like, well, I don't really believe in God, and yet here I am being protected, you know, or at least I don't believe in the same, I don't practice that kind of faith like other people. I love my yoga, and I'm a yoga based kind of like person.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, and I'm gay, and I haven't been taken away for AIDS. You know, God does not hate this fag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you have guardian angels
Yeah,
clearly.
right. You know, so I like to challenge the way people view their, you know, their faith in terms of, is it possible that we all have different ways of worshiping? And is it possible that we don't necessarily have to worship at all and still be protected and still be, you know, it's still get to be here equally like
Mhm.
you know? And sometimes, Coco, when things start to like make me feel uncomfortable the way people say or come at me, and if I feel like I have to respond to this, I learned this like not too long ago. I say, I love that for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or if I'm really irritated, goes, God, I hate that for me. Right? It's like there's this thing, it's fairly new. I just like picked it up from a show. It's like, I love that for you. It sounds almost condescending, but then it's also honest, right? I love that for you. And then somebody said this another time, I hate that for me. Like you could say like, oh God, for me, I hate that.
Those are both very Alexis from Schitt's Creek things to say.
Oh yeah,
Um,
right? Yeah.
yes.
So,
Alexis Rose, like, it's so funny.
oh
I love
David,
that journey. Yeah.
I love that journey for you, but that's not actually. I don't think that's the right journey for me right now.
Right. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
David. Oh, that show's amazing. Yeah,
In my
that show.
opinion, the best show ever. I've never loved a show so much.
Oh my God. Yes, there we go.
I'm
Jesus,
currently
man.
watching the whole thing for my third time through, and it's just equally enthralled.
Oh yeah. And anytime I get like a moment of like boredom or whatever, it's like, oh my God, I just like find a Schitt's Creek episode, or like I go to YouTube and find like Schitt's Creek's best moments.
Yeah.
It is a trip too, because like, when you compare like the first season, second season, you really see their characters develop and go deeper and thicken, which I
Yes.
love. Like their characters get a little more animated, and the hand gestures and the body language. It's just so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Like that is my favorite thing in a show. Like like I don't really like I can't really get into a show that much personally unless there is that like sweet character, like very human character development. I mean, that's just like that's what I'm into in life also, and that's what I'm into across the board. Like I don't want to be in a friendship if we're not like deepening and enriching ourselves and like growing as humans because of it. I
Yeah.
don't want to like go on a trip or do any kind of experience unless there's character development in it. Like I don't want to watch a TV show unless there's that in it. So I've just like noticed that, yeah, of course that's why I love that show. It's like that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people learning and growing and letting go. I mean, so yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that one episode though where David's fiance sang to him? I
Oh
forget.
my
It was
God, I
it was
forgot about that,
did,
but yes.
did you cry? Do you remember
Um,
crying?
in my soul I did, but I don't know if you know about about me, but like something I have a crying block that
Oh,
hasn't been shattered yet, and it's really, really rare for actual tears to come out of my eyes.
okay. Well, I'm gonna make a note. I'm
If
gonna
you
be
can,
with you for a few days. I'm gonna make sure that we crack that bottle open.
yeah, if you can help me, that would be great because I know that it would feel really good. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
either from laughing so hard, or like something super, super deep and emotional. Like, we'll just get in there.
Yeah. Let's make a project out of that. I'm down.
Oh, Coco, I used to like, I know this might sound super, super silly. I used to have Tuesday afternoon, evening as my cry portion of the week.
Tell me more about that.
I find like I don't get I get uncomfortable in spaces and times where emotions run high, and we start going down a path where I'm not I don't thrive in. So I'm always like happy, joy for most part. I'm very enthusiastic, very energetic, and I realized that like, dude, man, you don't let yourself be vulnerable enough to affect you in a way to be sad or to cry. So I found myself like on Tuesdays, I would watch or reflect back on really, really sad emotional moments, and I just let it out.
Wow. I
It's a
love that for you.
it is. There you go. See how that works? You just got you just got engaged and supportive. But it was a practice. I was doing that like, and I find myself like sometimes I would have like this really heated like discussions with Aaron, and it would happen to fall on a Tuesday. And I think maybe it's also because like we used to have a pattern of having a great, wonderful weekend. We were younger, we'd go out, have a good time. And so there would be like this come down space.
Right, like a high, and
Yeah,
then that
the
was the
highs and the low.
balancing of that. Yeah.
Yes. And so by the time Tuesday came, I just made it a thing for myself, like, oh, then this is a good time to actually experience and explore that piece intentionally and in a controlled setting. If that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like I would be by myself or whatever, and I would just like let the tears fall. I would think about my father. My dad is a good space for me to reflect back on, like both joy and sadness, you know. But I can't believe that you haven't had a good cry.
Yeah, it's really crazy, and I mean,
Huh.
I don't want to. go too deep into my own like fucked up psychology, but
I
um,
mean,
I have been through. I kind of like had some revelations about it recently when I had shingles, and I was just laying there for days and just like reflecting on stuff, and it kind of like suddenly made sense to me that like during adolescence I was putting myself through like what a lot of queer guys put themselves through, which is like masculinity boot camp training. And that's when I developed a lot of like my habits of being very aggressive towards myself and just like just get over it, just stop crying, like there's so many positive things to focus on, like onwards and upwards always, and stop whining. Um and then that stuff kind of got mixed together with like toxic positivity stuff about like certain ways that I interpreted things from like yoga or the power of now, where it's like, why would you focus on something negative from the past and let it affect you in the present? And theoretically it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Why not just be happy all the time if nothing sad is happening to me in the moment? But the result is, for years I have practiced like not focusing on and not processing negative thoughts and feelings, and just immediately being like nope, and just like jumping into like work or humor or sex, or like, so I'm really bad. I'm just confessing that anyone who's listening right now, um, in the past and currently now, I'm really bad at sitting with negative feelings and really feeling them and letting them come up. It's hard.
yeah. Well, your birthday's falling on a Tuesday, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. We'll get sloppy drunk and I'll remind you how you're turning into an old queen.
Okay.
That's not even
Hate that for
sad.
me.
Yeah, you're gonna say, well, I wouldn't talk, bitch.
Well, also
You
at
don't
that point,
you don't
I'm
want to talk
gonna have
about getting old this summer, do we?
honestly, I'm a little bit worried about my like survival up until that point, because by that point in the trip, I will have been through so many emotional and intense experiences
Yeah.
that if I'm not crying at that by that point, then it probably won't take much more to just kind of push me over the edge. So,
It's time to bust out the onions. Oh my God. Anyway. Well, we'd gone through an hour and not talk about boners or sex or being naked. Like we're losing our edge, brother.
what the fuck?
We are losing our edge. A whole hour had gone by and nobody's talked about the peen in the room.
Wow. Well, I think that's probably actually
Wait,
good for once.
it,
That's
it
balance. Oh, wait, what do you have?
it's our cliffhanger. Don't bump. Oh, there is a peen in the room.
Yeah, a few. Yeah, a few. But
Wow.
it's okay that they didn't come out in the show. Come back in season 2,
Come back in
and there'll be
season 2
more penis talk and yoga boners for sure.
for sure. All
Guaranteed.
right. Well, let's wrap this up, folks. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for engaging. Coco, do your thing.
Guys, thank you so much for watching today's show. And if you watched the whole season, or if you watched more than one episode, that's awesome. Thank you. We send you so much love and blessings on and off the mat. And we hope you have an amazing day. And we'll see you in season 2.